Okay, so a second example here, we've got sine 2x equals sine x, and again we can see that we've got different inputs into each of our trig functions. So even though we've got sine for both sides, the fact that one of them's got an input of 2x and the other one's got an input of x means that we need to be using the double angle. We can't have two different inputs into our trig ratios. So what we'll do is we will obviously be replacing sine 2x by using the identity. Unlike with cos 2x, there's no element of choice here. We've got to use 2 sine x cos x is equal to sine x. So we've got to sub that in. In order to solve this, the process that we have to follow is to move the sine x on the right-hand side over to the left-hand side. So we'll subtract that from both sides. That gives us 2 sine x cos x minus sine x is equal to 0. And then the process we need to follow is to factorize. Sine x is a common factor, so I can pull that out, and that'll leave me with 2 cos x minus 1 in the brackets, and that's equal to 0. That then means that either sine x is equal to 0 or 2 cos x minus 1 is equal to 0, which means that cos x would be equal to a half. Now I'll solve these using the unit circle. So sine x is equal to 0 would mean that x is either equal to 0 pi or 2 pi. And if cos x is equal to a half, that would mean that x is equal to either 60 degrees or pi over 3. And then if we think unit circle, we're going to have one answer here and one answer here. So the other answer is going to be in the fourth quadrant. So we've got 6 pi over 3, take away pi over 3, that gives me 5 pi by 3 as my final solution. Common mistake to make on this question would be at this stage here to say, oh, I've got sine x on this side and sine x on this side, so I'll divide both sides by sine x. The reason that we mustn't do that is because sine x might be equal to 0. In fact, we've seen here that sine x is equal to 0. And we know that we can't divide by 0. So we have to follow a process of factorizing instead, because that means that we then get both of the valid solutions rather than losing this one. If we divided both sides by sine x up here, we would only get this solution on the right-hand side. So that's a very common mistake and one to make sure that you avoid.